The creator of Digital Circus herself has said that the show won't be as lore-driven as fans may expect, and will rely on a more Monster of the Week format. And for a show like this, what better way to expand on this than a Halloween special? Not only did this episode give us another immersive episodic adventure to dissect, but it also gave us a deeper look at what I consider to be the show's greatest aspect, its characters. Let's talk about it. Welcome back to another quick joint, a series where a video is too long to be YouTube short, but too short to be a full-length video. Time to analyze the episode. The episode starts with Pomy torturing herself and Jack's not giving two shits about it. The grass is green, sky is blue, taxes are high. I think I'm 18 and unemployed, so haven't had to pay them shits yet, thankfully. Anyway, even the others are enjoying whatever's going on here. Jack states that the reason why they're making Pomy hold her breath to see how her face colors change is because everyone in the main cast has their own natural quirk. And of course, Jax doesn't want to reveal his own because this nigga wants to act more mysterious than a smelly opium fan who hasn't graduated high school yet and doesn't get any bit. Kane interrupts this torture session to introduce their next adventure, which is in a haunted mansion. Apparently, he tried to make this a cool, edgy M17 plus adventure just for Zubul, but she dips out at the time he's explaining the adventure, most likely because she didn't give two shits in the first place and has deeper, more introspective things to deal with. And considering Kane couldn't even pronounce the word mature right, he has no idea what Zubul's needs at the moment actually are. On that note, I like y'all to meet my day one homie foreshadowing. You know, he black as hell, so you might not be able to see him right away, but he should be right behind me. Say what's up to him, bro. Say what's up. Say what's up. That's alright, he a little shy. He been like that since we was kids, just whatever, you know.
I can't wait for all the children in the audience to get horrible nightmares from
What?
Bubble is evil, bro. Now I'm even more curious what they said in the previous episode where it was bleeped out. And to the people that said Jax was too cynical in that episode, which honestly I disagree with, he's barely in this one, so problem solved for y'all, I guess. Although I'm a fan of Jax, I'm kind of glad that wasn't the case because the writer is choosing to withhold so much information about him beyond his usual antics. It's hard to know if him having a bigger role in this episode would have really added anything. You'll see why I said that as things move forward. This part funny as hell, I'm not gonna lie.
Go sleep! And I'll be your guide today! It's up to you to decide!
What? Jax!
What? I thought we were supposed to capture all the ghosts.
Kinger and Pomy end up in a scary door after an unfortunate turn of events, and we'll see how that unfolds later. Meanwhile, Kane has a talk with Zubul on why she keeps skipping out on his adventures. If you saw my last video on the show, you know that one of my main criticisms was how little she had been used in the series up until that point, and how I'd like to see her character get expanded later on. And looks like that's finally happening. Zubul points out to Kane how he's always thinking about his adventures and not her feelings, the things that are actually bothering her. She doesn't care about colorful cowboy niggas and haunted mansions. Instead, she wishes he would take a deeper look into herself. Either he's neurodivergent coded or just has no idea what's going on here. Reeling it back to Pomy and Kinger, they both find this audio tape of this Twilight Zone sounding man talking about how he had to do whatever he could to protect his family from some creature. I like to bring my homie foreshadowing back to share a few words about if that creature is gonna show up or not. Man, look, man, I swear this nigga be on black people time. He'll just show up whenever you feel like it, man. F him. I hope you doing alright though, that's my mans right there. Anyway, while Pomy tries to find a way out back to the others, another piece of the tape plays and it reveals that after the guy tried to kill the creature, it still tried to come back anyway, which might be set up for what's gonna happen later. It's just saying. See what I'm talking about, y'all? How he just disappeared like that again? He think he opium or something, so something wrong with that dude.
And this is some rather inconvenient darkness. I can't see my hands.
What in the Jeff the Killer am I looking at?
You look beautiful.
It's almost like Kinger was hypnotized by that thing. I wonder if foreshadowing gonna come back in and explain. You know what, I'm not even going. Zubul reveals to Kane that the reason she's been distant from the gang for a while is because of her own self-image issues when it comes to her body. Something that a lot of people could probably relate to. But I don't think she's the only one in this scene going through a crisis here. During this makeshift therapy session, Kane realizes from talking to Zubul that his adventures aren't benefiting anyone. He tells her that making adventures are like an art form for him, and that if he's not good at it, he wouldn't know what his purpose is. I wouldn't be surprised if he's neurodivergent coded, whether that's intentional or not, and I'll explain why. Throughout the episode, it's made clear to the the audience that he's not intentionally incompetent when it comes to meeting everyone's needs in the circuit. His own brain won't allow him the space to do so. The only thing he does somewhat know how to handle is making his adventures, which could essentially be his hyperfixation. When a neurodivergent gets hyperfixated on something, it's because that thing helps them process the almost unexplainable parts of their condition that are hard to deal with, even if that special interest seems like something simple on the surface. For example, from my own experience as a neurodivergent, I've been listening to every Outkast album in a chronological order for a week at the time that I'm writing this, and I'm already on their last album. I started it right before going through something in my personal life I won't speak on here, and the more time I had to reflect on that situation, the more invested I got in diving into their discography fully. You can see why it's easy for me to make the inference that this is the reason why Kane cares about his adventure so much, and why the circus almost completely falls apart during his mini crisis. Meanwhile, Pomy and Kane hear the next part of the tape where the guy explains mistaking the creature for his wife and accidentally killing her. They end up finding what seems to be the gun he once used back then. The creature ends up coming back and Kinger manages to shoot it down. That mug is not going down without a fight, that's for sure. I'll let Tape Bro explain that to you. I mean, you could have had me do it. Nigga, what clock are you on?
I didn't know that the creature was actually one of God's angels.
What?
And anyone who brings harm to it will be dragged down into the cold, spiraling pits of hell where my soul resides. I apologize, dear listener, but I need a living host in order to escape the Hall of the Damned.
Very wholesome, lighthearted turn there. Bubble's wrong. I don't think anyone's gonna be scared of this. Anyway, Ragatha and Gangle are nonchalantly sipping tea with the dead tape nigga's wife while Jax is tied up in a corner. I'm sure that last part aligns with a lot of y'all's Tumblr fantasies, at least for the lasting percentage of the fan base that doesn't hate the guy. Just by completing this sipping tea initiative, the gang has completed the adventure. Only thing is they can't leave until Pomy and King are back to safety. Speaking of Pomy, that motherfucker possessed. That's something else right there. After a creature possesses her and Kinger tries to come to her rescue, it asks him how his wife was doing, which alludes to the possibility of her no longer being alive. Something that would have been alluded to much earlier in the video if somebody actually did their damn job. As I was scripting, I had just now saw this in the comments of the episode and thought it was interesting, so let me know what y'all think about that in my comment section. But after Pomy goes back to normal, she breaks down in tears over the endless amount of traumatic experiences she's had since entering the circus. Kinger manages to console her by telling the story on what happened to his wife. She ended up being abstracted, but despite how different she looked, despite the fact she couldn't fully be herself like before, she seemed happy within the last interaction her and Kinger had together. Despite how easy it is for Kinger to forget things, which most likely comes from a trauma response, at least I'd assume, the way his wife was able to find beauty in the darkness within her last moments is something that always stuck with him. As everyone else in the circus struggles to find meaning within their own existence, what Kinger experienced that day gave him a clear glimpse of guidance that seems to have never left him. Him finding the beauty within his wife's abstraction is probably the reason he was initially intrigued by what seemed to be a haunting creature earlier in the episode. In the end, that creature only turned out to be an angelic being caught in the wrong situation. Who's to say he didn't see the love of his life in the same way? He uses what he went through with his wife to inspire Pomy to find the beauty in the confusion. Kind of like how Pomy tried to do the same for Gummy before, well,
Looks like one of these guys made it through.
wait, what? I guess he figures that if he guides her in the right direction now, she won't suffer as much as he did. And because of how bad his memory is, he won't even remember doing this for her. If that doesn't show how poetic this episode is, I don't know what will, man. They make their way back up safely and return to the circus. Honestly, the show just keeps topping itself. It's insane. I feel like once we learn more about Jackson and why he's so cynical, not only will the fan base respect him more, but it can also give his fans even more reason to love him. Them doing such a magnificent job with Kinger's character in this episode gives me even higher hopes that they'll take Jackson to an interesting direction as well. I'd assume they probably develop his character more by diving deeper into his relationship with Kaufmo, which has been pretty vague up until this point. There's a slight visual nod to him suppressing his emotions during Kaufmo's memorial in the previous episode. Another thing I liked is that the animation in this show keeps getting cleaner and cleaner. I just didn't touch on it much because I don't know how to put the visual improvements made into words. And I'm sure after the new Netflix deal, the budget for this show will probably be even larger. Or even speed up episode releases slightly, but I don't know, that might be pushing it. It's nice that kids can choose to either watch the show here on YouTube or on Netflix. Just like Coco Melon. Only difference is this show is actually good and isn't the equivalent to Whippets for Gen Alpha kids. Only thing is I don't think kids sound like deep voice Playboy Cardi after inhaling a Coco Melon episode like they would with actual Whippets, but that's beside the point. If you want to see my previous videos surrounding Digital Circus, check out the playlist in the top right of your screen right now. And make sure to follow my IG at Genius the Great for more updates on videos like these. Anyway, this has been a quick joint, and until next time, I'm out this mode.